name and word of Convocation. So I have done them proud, I think. But in other words, when the president issues a call for convocation, it means they want to see you. And when this is done, we get a chance to look around and see what Stillman looks like right now. Not what it looked like last year, 5 years ago, or even 10 years ago. And I got to say that you look good. You ought to be proud of yourselves. To the freshmen, the convocation should mean that you answer the call. If you didn't get it when you got your acceptance letter, if you didn't get it when you left home, if you didn't get it when you got on campus, you should get it when you walked in here today, because you're walking in the footsteps of trailblazers, your history and our history. To the upperclassmen, welcome back. You may know the drill by now, but there's still more to learn and more to do. Great Dr. Benjamin E. Mays, President Emeritus of Morehouse College, once told his students, the tragedy of life is not found in failure, but in complacency. Not in your doing too much, but doing too little. Not in you living above your means, but below your capacity. It is not failure, but aiming too low that is life's greatest tragedy. When we think about HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, their heritage and impact, we have to think back to one of our nation's defining eras. So much of America's history, including where we are right now, has been shaped by the decades right before and right after the Civil War. And the genesis of the HBCU experience is no exception. It certainly falls right into this turbulent time. The term HBCU was first created by the Higher Education Act in 1965. Now, as we know, there have been volumes of books written about the period from 1965 to 1968. And I'll be the first to tell you that the context of the 1965 Act is worthy of a whole set of conversations, one that we can't have here today. But to our topic, the first HBCUs, colleges and places of higher learning that embodied the spirit of black excellence before there were hashtags, and black education. It was started before the Civil War, not in the South, but in Pennsylvania and Ohio. The Institute for Colored Youth opened on a farm outside Philadelphia in 1837. Today, we know it as Cheney University of Pennsylvania. In 1856, the Methodist Episcopal Church opened Wilberforce University, which the AME Church later took over. But after the Civil War and the abolition of slavery, we now have 4 million people, and the vast majority of whom neither could read nor write, but for a few exceptions. And so we can certainly point to Frederick Douglass, but there were so many others during Reconstruction, that period from 1867 to 1877. About 2,000 black men who ran for public office. 600 were elected to state legislatures, and 16 served in Congress. They served in spite of threats and acts of violence to their families. Many even served in the state legislature right here in Alabama. But when we think about these 4 million freed people, we think about the process to educate these people. With the help of black ministers and white philanthropists, the 1890 Land Grant Act was passed by Congress primarily for the 17 southern states. The Land Grant Act was a jumpstart by the Educational Foundation, one that was biracial in nature, but also it created these historical stories that genuinely highlight the depth of our human spirit. So when one is thinking about the HBCU experience, understand that this was not done just with all black people. It was not done just with all white people. There was a partnership, and there has been no progress for humanity and civil rights in this nation's history that has not included black and white alike. And so I want us to be very clear as we're thinking about things in the modern context to understand that as the Nota Sol Gabon and the Harlem Renaissance raised Zora Neale Hurston once said, "Not all my skin folk are my kinfolk." And not everybody white is against you, not everybody black is for you. So it's understanding the history of these things in which we begin to understand ourselves, our community, and our collective. And so in 1876, this very institution, Stillman College, was started during that Reconstruction period with 6 students, but it was not chartered by the state of Alabama until 1895 because of that 1890 Land Grant Act. No different in 1904 with $1.50 and 5 students, Mary McLeod Bethune opened up a vocational school in David, Florida, now known as Bethune-Cookman University. And so let's pause to focus on the periods of the 1830s to the early 1900s. What a testament to the human spirit and what we think about those founders and what they went through to start these great institutions and the hardships the students endured to attend. It is one thing to come to something, but another thing to overcome to get somewhere. If you come to a university, if you come to a college, you may have had some bumps, but it was relatively straightforward. You may have had some hills to climb and some curves to get around. But if you have to overcome, then one may reflect on Jeremiah 1:19, which reads, "They will fight against you, but they will not overcome you, for I am with you to deliver you, declares the Lord." That means people, events, and even society may have been trying to hold you back, may have been trying to keep you down, and so many times standing in your way, and maybe even trying to take life and liberty. In my day, we would have quoted Nas and Diddy and said they may have been hating on us. But you might quote the great philosopher Kendrick Lamar and say we're going to be all right. So let's honor what our foreparents went through to get us where we are today. Maybe they didn't have help, but they had hope. Maybe they didn't have finances, but they had fortitude. And that fortitude would endure, and the era of HBCU founders and pioneers gave way to an era of HBCU educated liberators, thinkers, and activists, agents of change. These were men and women dedicated to building a better America for all. Many of them led the modern civil rights movement in Montgomery, Alabama, in Birmingham, and throughout this state and this nation. And the civil rights era is where I believe HBCUs drastically changed the historical arc and trajectory of this country once again. Without the brilliant legal mind of Thurgood Marshall from Howard University, the activism of Diane Nash of Fisk University, the supreme sacrifice of Medgar Evers from Alcorn State University, and of course the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. from Morehouse College, and even Ruth Bolden from Stillman College, and so many others who have played an outsized but often forgotten role in the history of our nation. Who knows what path America might have followed? Look where we are today, even with their guidance and leadership. We have people questioning whether or not an armed insurrection really took place. We have people questioning whether or not elections are actually being stolen because they are the loser. We have people questioning whether or not many of the gains that were made on the backs of men and women and children in this state and some of your hometowns to accomplish voting rights, civil rights, and so many other freedoms that we now enjoy, that we have people questioning whether or not we're taking a step back or a step forward. The HBCU experience is as much about community engagement and community leadership as it is anything else. And as a Morehouse man, I won't tell you that I didn't enjoy the college experience. I did. I won't tell you everything I did. And we were smart enough not to record everything. We ain't have to tell you everywhere we were or everything we did, and we sure didn't have to take pictures and videos of it. If you weren't there, then you weren't supposed to be there. So it's one of those things that came out of that legacy for us that is a commitment to a cause above oneself. And at some point, the HBCU legacy hits you, and then it envelopes you, and then something else happens. It becomes you. It becomes your time and your turn to go from reading about the history to making the history. And I don't see it as giving back, but rather paying it forward. Those first students, the founders, weren't giving back. They were paying it forward. and paving a path for a brighter future. So how can you and I do any less? Yes, our road may be bumpy, but it will never be anything like the years of many of our founders dealt with. It will never be like our forefathers and foremothers and the things they dealt with in the middle part of the 20th century. We have a different test that calls for different solutions that come from each of you. They aren't just going to come from City Hall. They aren't just going to come from the governor's mansion. They aren't just going to come from the legislature. They aren't even going to come from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in the White House or the halls of Congress. You may ask, why do we embrace this sense of community? The call to action to be a leader. Because in universities like this, in colleges like this, in communities like this, we understand how change really happens. And I genuinely believe it's in the DNA of all those who attend an HBCU and those who continue to give back. I would not call it a birthright, but it's almost a birth need. It has to be done. Whether you're Vice President Kamala Harris, Stacey Abrams, or United States Senator Raphael Warnock, and so many others of our heroes who are doing great things. Now, I chose to serve as an elected official, but there are so many other ways to be a leader of your community. If you're a teacher or professor or an entrepreneur, an investor or influencer, then you can have as much impact on someone's life as anyone in elected office. It's what you choose to do with that position. It's not so much about the title. Your history is here to learn from, but your history is the rail waiting for you to grab it. So why do we choose to go to HBCUs? We choose because of the collective that we all garner here. And I'm reminded of a story that Archbishop Desmond Tutu told about an anthropologist who was observing a group of villagers. The anthropologist who proposed a game to the kids in this African tribe put a basket of fruit near a tree, and he told them that whoever got there first won the fruits. And when he gave them the signal to run, he was surprised that they didn't. They all took one another's hands, and they ran and played together to get the fruit. They sat in a circle and enjoyed the treats. And when he asked the translator why they chose to run as a group, when they could have had more fruit individually, one child spoke up to that translator and said, "Ubuntu." Loosely translated means, I am because we are. And so how can one of us be happy, the translator said, if the other ones are sad? And so I think what we're saying here today is we want to have an Ubuntu spirit collectively, not just at Stillman, not just in Tuscaloosa, not just in Alabama, but collectively where you reach. You all have the power to reach global audiences through technology. What do you share with them? What is their interpretation of you? What is the vision that you're casting from your platform? What do you share and what do you talk to your followers about and what do you hear back from them? That is what we should be discussing, and that is what you should consider as you move forward throughout this academic year. Because at HBCUs, when we see each other, we should really see each other. We understand the shared background and heritage, our shared struggles, the shared culture, especially that culture of academic excellence and unrivaled campus activities, from homecoming to step shows, from cookouts to parties, whatever that may be. The shared determination and defiance, the shared determination to pass a class, the shared defiance not to fail it. Shared problems and shared solutions, a shared commitment to doing all we can to uplift and elevate our communities. Whatever you do, do it so well that people looking on will feel that task was reserved especially for you by God himself. And so when I see this audience, I see you. I understand what you had to go through, the challenges you may face, but I also know your future is as bright as possible in the history of our nation. In cities like Montgomery, we welcome you to our city. We need your talent, we need your innovation, we need your energy. But wherever you land with a positive experience and a positive impact of which you gathered here at Stillman. I'm thinking about something else. Understand what it is you have gathered right here at this university. Because at Morehouse College and Spelman College and Clark Atlanta and Morris Brown College, collectively known as the Atlanta University Center, that's what we understood over 25 years ago. It didn't matter if one was separate, it didn't matter because collectively we understood what our impact was. And so I share this with you at Stillman College. Understand what your role is. The question is, how will you answer it? And the question is, when you pick up, what will you say? And when you hang up, what will you do? That is a charge for you moving forward. That is a charge we have been given as HBCU alums, and that is a charge we expect of you as the best and brightest of Stillman College. Thank you so much, and Ubuntu.
From the college for gracious your message today. This is a mural, the Stillman Way, in the Hay Center dining hall. And so we see this every day and want you to take this back with you to Montgomery.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Seek ye first the kingdom of his love. Make him first in everything you do. If you just trust and never doubt what he said, good things will be added unto you. Seek ye first the kingdom of his love. Make him first in everything you do. If you just trust and never doubt what he said, all good things will be added unto you. Twice he fed a multitude with the smallest bits of food, and they all gave thanks to God that day. Still today we won't believe that to give is to receive, that the words he said will never fade. Seek ye first the kingdom of his love. Make him first in everything you do. If you just trust and never doubt what he said, all good things will be added unto you. He's got everything you need. All he asks is that you heed and be faithful to the very end. When that judgment day has come, don't you want to be that one, just to see his face and call him friend? Seek ye first the kingdom of his love. Make him first in everything you do. If you just trust and never doubt what he said, all good things will be added unto you. All good things will be added unto you.
Recognitions and announcements before we join together with the hearty Alma Mater. First, we recognize the 75th Miss Stillman, Miss Jada Nichols, and the second Mr. Stillman, Mr. Arik Evans. We also recognize our SGA President, Ms. Kennedy Michael Davis, and her cabinet of SGA officers. We also recognize any alumni who are here today. Please stand. Announcements. First, from Ms. Bostic in the Scholarship Office. Students must schedule an appointment during office hours to discuss scholarship information. Ms. Bostic has shared her office hours via email. All students should create a UNCF profile and apply for the general scholarship to be considered for UNCF funds. Please be on the lookout for scholarship information dates and times beginning this month in September. For instruction on essay writing, thank you letters, and how to submit the best scholarship application. From Ms. Smith, the college bursar, she says that outstanding bills are past due. Failure to pay those bills puts your classes at risk. Also, students who do not have recorded attendance have already been dropped from their classes as of Monday. Students with billing questions may contact the bursar. Faculty and staff can pick up their parking tags from the HR office in Bachelor Room 205 this afternoon from 1 to 3, and you can send administrative assistance or come by yourself. Thank you. Let's stand for the Alma Mater.
Lift the chorus, we
Please receive the benediction. Now unto the God who is able to keep you from falling and to present you faultless before the presence of divine glory with exceeding joy. To the only wise God, our Savior, be glory and majesty, dominion and power, both now and ever. Amen. Please be seated for the recessional.